I think that one thing that my parents did that was really exceptional is they maximized the surface area for serendipity for us by exposing us to different things.
Welcome to The Most Important Thing. I'm Greg, here with Danielle.
Hi.
And today we have a very special episode with our friend Cliff Weitzman, the founder and CEO of Speechify.
Mm-hmm.
Speechify is incredible. It's a text-to-speech app that I use all the time. And Cliff actually started Speechify because of his dyslexia. Cliff is the real deal. He's probably the only Forbes 30 under 30 CEO that can do a standing backflip.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just such a great dude. I mean, as you'll see, his energy is infectious. He has so many great stories to tell. He's also the firstborn of a family of 5 exceptional humans. This was a fantastic conversation about a family worth studying, wasn't it?
Totally. Cliff had so many great stories about his family, not just their triumphs, but also the life that they've built together. I loved hearing that 2 of his siblings actually work with him at Speechify.
Yeah, I was aware of his journey with dyslexia and Speechify, but I didn't realize until this conversation that so much of what makes Cliff is his family.
Yeah, and that's really what we're studying, which is so cool. So it was a beautiful conversation, and certainly stay tuned to the very end to listen to the quirkiest family tradition that we've heard of yet.
Yeah. So please enjoy this conversation with Cliff Weitzman.
Thank you for doing this again.
My pleasure. Thanks
We're
for coming
excited.
down. This is fun for me.
Okay,
That's
cool.
a lot of fun. Yeah, this is great, man. I mean, do you remember it was like the founders conference, Austin, and we talked for like 3 hours just about just everything from like teenage years on. It was like what the slope of an individual looks like and how mentors can gravitate towards individuals with really high slopes at a young age. Basically because it's like non-threatening, it's like kind of adorable, kind of reminds them of themselves when they were a kid. And it sounds like you've had a lot of that, which is amazing. But I didn't realize until we decided to record this episode that the influence that really kind of shows through is this family that you were so blessed to have, it sounds like. Like, tell me more about just what being a Weitzman meant to you growing up.
Oof. I don't think that there was a quote unquote being a Weitzman. It was more so I was lucky to have, and still have, the 2 best parents anyone could ever ask for, and also the most incredible 4 siblings anyone can have. And we grew up in a town in Israel called Ra'anana, about 20 minutes north of Tel Aviv. Obviously, we grew up speaking Hebrew, not English. And as a kid, I just really admired my dad and my mom. And they were very fair. They were very intellectually curious, and they treated us like adults. So like when they would make big decisions, like we'd be pulled into the decisions and we knew what was happening. And there was a lot of kids. And I think we just grew up with a lot of unconditional love. And so we'd like push the couches back every Friday and Saturday and have a dance party. And, our parents just really cared about us. And that was like very clear. And at the same time, there was like, my parents were very much not helicopter parents or like Tiger Mom. My parents did not look at my report cards at all. There wasn't too much fuss. But I think that we grew up with just like really solid principles in general.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. I mean, before we started talking about this family culture and family leadership journey that Danielle and I are on, had this occurred to you like through your story that you maybe had something that other people didn't, or?
Yes, it was very obvious that we had I always felt very grateful and very fortunate to have been born into my family, right? I didn't do anything to end up in the situation. I just was fortunate. Because you read books, you see shows, you see movies, you interact with your friends. And I don't know at what age people realize that their family is, what's the Dostoevsky quote? All happy families are the same, but all unhappy families are unhappy in a different way.
Yes.
And we just had a very happy family.
Yeah.
I would say that also genetically, my siblings, I'm going to exclude myself from this list, are very, very gifted. So Tyler started coding when he was 7, building websites. He taught himself assembly when he was 9 to hack video games. And like we moved to the US, we met kids who were using his hacks. He built 47 iPhone apps when he was in high school. When he was 11, we showed up in the United States. I didn't speak English. He barely spoke English, but within a year, he was valedictorian of the school. And this is like a really good middle school. And the next year, he skipped a year of math and he skipped a year of Spanish next to kids who had been taking Spanish for 7 years. And then my mom found this really great community college called College of Marin near where we grew up. And he enrolled in a computer science class and he taught the class as an 11-year-old and like would teach the other adult students how to do object-oriented programming. And there was this very funny scene. We love Costco, and he found the professor of the class in a Costco aisle, and he just like pinned him down and was like, "Why did you give me an A on this assignment, not an A plus?" And like he would not let go until the professor basically admitted that there was no reason why he should not have received an A plus on this assignment. And I'm pretty sure the professor changed his grade. And
Tenacious.
very
That's
tenacious.
great.
So he skipped 4.5 years of math when he was in high school. He skipped, I think, 5 years of college level computer science in high school. And then he did Stanford undergrad in math, and then his master's in AI at Stanford. My sister Alex speaks 7 languages fluently. She also did Exeter and then Stanford undergrad and then Stanford master's in AI. And like I couldn't figure out how to spell my last name, mind you, during like all this time. And so I think that one thing that my parents did that was really exceptional is they maximized the surface area for serendipity for us by exposing us to different things. So like my mom loved riding horses. And so we didn't have a lot of money. And so like horseback riding is very expensive, but I found like I had one horseback riding class, but I loved it. And so I convinced the woman who owned the ranch that if I came and mucked out the stables, I could ride in the end of the day. And so I like every chance I got, I'd go and do this. In Israel, gymnastics was pretty affordable, but in the US it was very expensive. But by that point I was really into gymnastics. So I just learned how to do more gymnastics off of YouTube. And then eventually I found a rec center that would let me come for free if I like passed a certain level. So I just like trained until I passed that level and I can go. And I needed to bike, I think like 3-4 miles as like a 13-year-old to school, but also the other way to go to this gymnastics gym. So I would like go from school to this gymnastics gym 6 miles. And so we just had a lot of like independence, and our parents encouraged us to just go and find what we liked and go and do it. And they didn't force us into anything. But we were just very, very motivated, I guess, to self-actualize. And so I think that the culture that they built also came because you have a lot of interactions between the siblings, right? So let's say Tyler and I would get in a fight. My dad would be the arbitrator of the fight at the end of the day, and the judge. But he was very good at communicating. And I was 90% of the time found to be at fault in these arguments. But my dad would explain why. And so I was not frustrated that I was at fault because I understood why. And it was done in a way that was not illogical or random. Like I got it. And I think that resulted in very strong bonds and relationships between me and the rest of my siblings. I think the other thing that is the case is, when you're in high school and there's a group project and like one person's actually doing the project and like 3 people are coasting, like we got to be lucky in the sense that of the 5 kids in my family, everyone's quite competent. And Tyler now works with me at Speechify. Geffen now works with me at Speechify. But it took me many years to get Tyler to agree to work with me because he was just so ahead of me in everything that we were doing. And I remember we had this really great call. I would have been like 24. He's like, Cliff, over the last like year, every time we have a disagreement, either you convince me or I convince you. We do it pretty fast. And like, you just make a lot of really good decisions. And Tyler and I realized at that point that our values were extremely aligned. We had the same values. And part of that, a lot of that comes from having the same parents and growing up in the same family, but also as we went in our own walkabouts in life, going to different schools, studying different topics, reading different books, doing different experiments of having both really high bias towards action, we just came to the same conclusions about the world and having a very similar worldview. But there were many times where we didn't have the same worldview. And Tyler came up with this really nice framework, which is when you're a noob, like a beginner at a topic, there's varying approaches. The more expert you are at a topic, you start converging to the same systems. And so as we both got really good at building products, as we both got really good at growth, as we both got really good at physical training, we ended up having the same systems, but for systems where we were both noobs, we had completely different approaches that were tailored towards our personal skill sets, right? Tyler's more technical than I am. I'm maybe slightly better with people. And then the other framework he came up with that was really good is that relationships are exponential. So your relationship with your family, your best friend, your close friends, and then acquaintances, each concentric circle is exponentially more important the tighter it is to you. So for example, some decisions we had to make, for example, do we live in San Francisco or do we live in Palo Alto? Where Palo Alto is next to Stanford, we have a lot of friends there. We have like a middle amount of friends in San Francisco, but our parents lived in Marin, which is north of San Francisco. And we're like, well, let's live in San Francisco because it keeps us closer to our parents and to our siblings, and that matters to us more than some of the other relationships. So I think that having a partner through life in that way is really powerful. Mm-hmm. And even now, I'm always looking for, you mentioned mentors, I'm always looking for someone who I can learn from. But the person that I learned from the most is Tyler. It's my brother, who's like 20 months younger than me. And so I think that there was never a situation where our parents sat down and were like, here is the principles of the family and here is the culture that we're trying to set. But we learned a lot from A, observing them, B, even more so, what they talked to us about, right? My dad would take me on walks when I was 8. Mm-hmm. And he talked to me about, here's why you would want to take out a loan if you're buying real estate. Here's the difference between a mutual fund and a hedge fund. Here's how the public stock market works. And I just ate it all up. I thought it was fascinating. Here's why the sky is blue. Here's how, electricity and magnetism works, like the high level. And I just found it fascinating. And I wanted to maximize the time I got to spend with my dad doing these types of walks. And so I think that seeing my parents being intellectually curious and them talking to me like an adult explaining things made me see the world or be awakened in a way that otherwise I would not have had the chance to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're hearing that a lot on this journey, right?
Yeah.
But every story is unique in a beautiful way. And it's beautiful how you have a growth mindset enough to let a younger brother be such an influence on you.
It's very easy when your younger brother is a machine.
Well, sure.
Sure.
But, as we just learned in our latest exploration of fixed and growth mindset, one thing that can really that can be a trigger for a fixed mindset is exactly that situation where it's somebody that you know so well, where you discount the work that they do. You're like, I could have done that too if I didn't have dyslexia or something like that,
So then let me tell you 2 stories. One good story is one day, Tyler came to my dad. He was like 4. And he had this dry erase multiplication tables. And it was solved. And my dad had bought it for me because he wanted me to succeed in maths. And my dad was like, wow, Cliff did this? You want to show me what Cliff has done? He's like, no, I did it. What do you mean you did it? You haven't even learned multiplication. He's like, how did you do it? He's like, I counted. And that's the point where they're like, all right, there's something very special about this kid. And I was always very precocious when it came to language, right? I have a very good auditory memory. So if I hear a song, I instantly remember the lyrics. And I would watch like Bible stories. I don't know, there were Bible story cartoons on TV. So I knew Bible stories really well. And I had the vocabulary in Hebrew that was very unusual of a kid my age. But I was not nearly as technical. Tyler learned how to touch type in English at 140 words per minute before he knew how to speak English. And you just realize this is the circle and this is the X, and you just you'd figure it out. But great example. So my dad would be like, all right, I will pay you guys 10 shekels, which is like a quarter, if you learn how to touch type above 60 words per minute, because he learned how to touch type late and he wanted us to learn how to touch type. So we learned how to touch type in Hebrew, then we learned how to touch type in English. And I remember him offering me half a shekel. So again, we're talking like pennies, to swim a lap. And so I could swim up to 200 laps and get the money. So I had like really worked on swimming laps. And he'd pay us 10 shekels for reading a book, $2.50. I was really motivated to read books. And, these type of challenges were amazing for me. And my best friend, Valentine, his dad did very similar stuff. He'd like have him read a Wall Street Journal article and then write a 1-page summary about it and then like run a mile, and then he'd get like a certain reward. He'd like give him another reward if he could juggle a soccer ball for like 100 juggles. And so I think that these types of challenges coming from your dad, coming from your mom, always work really, really well for kids. At least for me, they did. And with Tyler, it was just the case that he, in a not aggressive way, was just so interested in the things that he was interested in and flourished on his own that it was very inspiring. And I remember when he was in 8th grade, he made $100 in one day of people downloading an app that he made called Risk Dice Shaker. It's like the game Risk. He built a digital dice for it. And we shared the same room, and he had his computer that he made his own money to buy this computer. And I was like, wow, he made money while he slept off of his iPhone app. You can do that. And so the second, and like, it's very different to see someone that you know do it, especially someone who's living in your room, than to hear that Mark Zuckerberg has done it. Yeah. Because Mark Zuckerberg, you're like, I don't know, he could be an alien, right? Maybe he has like a level of intelligence that I cannot even fathom. And Tyler is, till this day, the smartest person that I have ever met. No one at Brown, no one at Stanford, no one at Harvard, no one Forbes 30 under 30 who I've met is even close to his level of being able to learn stuff. No founder I've met in another company. But I share half his DNA. I know him from zero, and I'm not afraid of his intellect because I understand him perfectly. And I'm like, great, if he could do it, I could do it too. It might take me longer. It definitely will take me longer, but I know I could do it. Have you ever watched the movie Gattaca?
No.
Great movie about genetic engineering. So there's 2 twins. And one is genetically engineered and the other is not. And obviously the genetically engineered one is taller, stronger, smarter. Everything is better. And they play this game called Chicken, which is the only game where the not genetically engineered twin wins. And so an example in the game Chicken is they go to the ocean and they swim into the ocean. And they see who turns around first. And the older brother, by a couple of minutes, who is not genetically engineered, is crazy and will swim further to a degree that is dangerous. And so that kid is not smarter, he's not stronger, but he has maybe stronger human spirit. He just doesn't give up. So my favorite quote is, you cannot fail unless you quit. And I think that is the tool, the shield that I picked up along the way to say, hey, it might take me a little bit longer. I know I can get there. I have the belief. So I'm just not going to quit until I get it. And so I like people to often talk about IQ, intelligence quotient, or EQ, emotional intelligence. And I think that the thing that actually yields the biggest results in the long term is AQ, adversity quotient. How good are you when things get really hard? And, how much energy and momentum and perseverance do you put to not stopping? And that's maybe the tool that I got really good at along the way. That was my version of matching Tyler's level of technical ability.
Yeah, if Tyler were here right now, what do you think he would say as far as how you have mentored him throughout life?
Well, he would bashfully bat away my compliments. And I think that he would say that the things that Cliff has that are very good, I think the first one he would say is strategy. So I'm very good at board games. Cliff is like ridiculous at strategy. And a lot of it he'll say is because Cliff reads so much. So I listened to 2 audiobooks a week every week since I was 14. So 100 books a year. Very wide array, and I have a very good auditory memory. And so my pattern recognition is really, really strong. The second thing he would say is Cliff dreams very big and can paint like very vivid visions. And he's excellent at recruiting people to his wild escapades. And so one of the benefits of being the oldest of 5 kids is you get training in being a leader from the time that you are a baby.
Sure, yeah.
And so that is something that kind of came through. And I'm very not susceptible to peer pressure. And so, I'm a little hellion marching to his own drum very often.
Say more about that. Not susceptible to peer pressure.
Oh, man. So I don't drink. I don't smoke. Never been high, never been drunk. I could not make friends in elementary school and really struggled in middle school and high school from this regard. I kind of could, but I just didn't jive with other kids, and I was not willing to change things that I thought were important in order to assimilate. I also faced moving from Israeli culture to American culture, and I just studied how to win friends and influence people, and just really tried to understand how do you make friends. And then I got to Brown. and my cheeks started to hurt from smiling so much because I finally found my people. Like, everyone was interested.
During that time where you're struggling, so I can relate to watching a child struggle and think that they have no friends. One, I had that growing up at certain points, but now one of our kids also feels like she doesn't. And it's really a factor of a small school, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
How did you feel supported during that time? Because you once you found your place at Brown, and I had a similar experience in college as well, but like once you find your place, everything's okay. But we kind of tend to gloss over all of those years when things did not feel okay.
Totally.
So like, what does support look like? What does good look like in terms of support?
So I think one of the peaks of it, I would have been like 6. I wrote a song in Hebrew called "En li chaverim v'zeh lo tov," which means I don't have any friends and that's not good. And I sang this to my parents. That was adorable. And I can't tell you where my sense of belief in myself and confidence came from, but it's always been there. And I think that that's the thing I could always hang my hat on. Like, I didn't think for a second that I was less than or not good enough. And it's because I just got so much unconditional love from my family, right? We're a very physical family. We'll hug, we'll kiss, we'll dogpile, we'll dance, we'll sing. You know, either it comes from my parents or my parents will be like, oh, you know, Geffen is sad. Cliff, go dance with her. Cliff, go, you know, give her attention, pick her up, whatever. So like, it was very encouraged by my parents. The second thing is I had a backstop where if I wasn't friends with kids in my school, I was still friends with my siblings.
Yeah.
And like, they had the same values as me and they were interesting and interested and they were persevering and they, you know, all these things. Mind you, very intellectually bent for the first 20 years of our lives. And only around 20 years in do we become also like athletically inclined, right? I think that if you had switched it and we were more athletically inclined earlier on, we probably would have had an easier time making friends when we were younger. And so one is like, it's very different when you have 5 siblings as opposed to when you're a single child.
Mm-hmm.
It's also different because I think I was at 10 different schools before I was 16. So and that was a great thing for me. I benefited from it. I remember when my parents wanted to move us to the United States, they said, hey, if you write a book in Hebrew, 7 million people can read it. If you do it in English, 7 billion can. We think it would be great for us to have an adventure and try to move to the US. Would you guys be interested in doing that? And we're like, yeah, let's go on an adventure. Like, we wanted to go, but we were bought in. It didn't happen to us. We decided we would do it alongside my parents. And that, I think, made for a much different experience, and it made me very motivated.
I mean, for sure. We talk about that a lot, like the agency and autonomy given to the children. It sounds like your family really fostered this family as a team vibe, as opposed to like maybe the parents were giving you the idea, kind of throwing the ball in the air.
Totally.
But really making sure that you were bought in.
Correct.
And I love this idea of an adventure because this year when we traveled in August, we did like a 2-week family adventure, not a vacation. Because the truth is, like, when we're all together, it's not a time to go sit on the beach and relax for us. It's actually a time to go on new excursions, uncharted territory. So I love that idea that they had the foresight to frame it to you as an adventure and to really ask for your buy-in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's huge.
And they created a situation where we wanted to buy in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was a situation where they tried to get us to get involved with something and that we gave resistance and didn't want to do it. And I actually can't remember one.
Sounds like they were great storytellers. Like, from what I
Very
can
good
hear.
storytellers.
Like, that, the foresight to tell you about the 7 million versus 7 billion people being able to read your book. I mean, that's what I want to take away, Greg, because I feel like it is so thoughtful. And it seems like that may be something you got from your parents, your ability to craft this vision and to have people follow you. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
And I think that, you know, I picked up different things from my mom and different things from my dad. So my dad is definitely the storyteller. And definitely the vision painter. And then my mom is just an execution machine. Like, she's so good at research. She's so good at like crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And they're a very good partnership. And, you know, they built their business together as well. And I think that among the kids, we benefited in picking up the best of both worlds. And, you know, there's negative sides to, like, I think everybody in my family has ADHD. And we learn how to mitigate it. And the nice thing is you learn from each other the tricks that each person has.
Sure.
And so that's been super. And so that's the other thing. So if we talk about culture, let me give you family culture.
Yeah.
You're right. Family as a team is 100% there. And one of the places where you would see it the most is in college applications. So we have, obviously, a large dining room table to fit all the family. And when I was applying to college, we didn't know what schools existed in the United States. We knew about Harvard, we knew about Stanford, we knew about MIT, but that was about it. I ended up at Brown randomly because I realized that it was a lottery at the end of the day. And how do you win a lottery? You brute force it. You just buy a lot of tickets. So I applied to 26 schools. And Brown was just another school on the list. And my mom really helped me in the process, but my siblings were too young to help me. And my dad was working. I got lucky. I ended up at Brown. With the rest of the kids, we'd gone through the gauntlet once. We knew what was going on, and I could help. So I was very involved. And then I remember with Alex, we all sat at the dining room table, and we would read all of her essays for all the schools she applied as a family. And you have notes here with red marker. When my dad would mark it up, I would mark it up, my mom would mark it up, Tyler would mark it up. Each of us would submit a version of like what we thought would be the best essay that would get her in. And then Geffen, now we had all Tyler, Alex, Cliff, mom, dad, all working.
Just
Eric's,
compounds.
You have 6 people are now working on this college application together. And it's Thanksgiving is the school vacation before college applications are due for early decision. All of Thanksgiving for 5 years was dedicated to college applications in the Weitzman household. And it was not the one person. No, it's not like you're applying to college alone. The entire family is applying to college for this person.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the imagery is amazing there. It's like there's something about everyone figuring it out together versus the parents having the answers and the children not.
Yeah.
Like everybody driving in the same direction towards discovery.
Yes.
And it sounds like you all have beneficial and positive ways of interacting. You mentioned that your father was the arbiter, but like what other kind of rituals or routines did you have around rupture and repair
There's
that
a lot
you can speak about?
So Tyler,
yes.
hero of the day. I have a great auditory memory. Tyler's memory is just absolutely absurd. Like if I give him my credit card, he will have the number memorized for the rest of his life. And so if there is,
Good.
Except I trust him with my life.
Yes,
so it's good.
exactly.
If there is a argument around he said, she said, Tyler will just tell us what was said. It's like there was a camera in the room.
He's the limitless pin before the limitless pin.
Correct.
There you go.
And so like if him and I are having an argument about like, and I claim I said this and he claims I said that, I trust him about what I said more than I trust myself. And like, I'm happy to like yield to that conclusion. That's one. Two, people have different strengths. So when it's needed to interface with someone outside the family and like get to someone, my mom will message me or Alex will message me and I'll go and find the person because I'm good at like outreach. Alex is actually really, really good at research like my mom. And so often there'll be like a specific scientific problem that I can't figure out. And we'll just like assign it to Alex and she'll go and do it and she'll come back with a solution. Geffen has the best taste and she's very graceful and she has very good soft power. And so like sometimes we'll send Geffen as the fixer. And so like we know it's like, you know, a soccer team. Different people have different strengths. You send in the right agent for the right cause. Tyler and I work together. We almost never sign contracts. We make a video, selfie video with both of us in the shot, and we send it to each other, to our chat on WhatsApp. And we know that if there's a disagreement later, we'll show the video to our dad, and he will decide what is the outcome that needs to happen. And like that allows for such high speed too of like making deals and decision making between each other. It's like actually incredible.
Yeah, the blind passes are real. Like one of my best friends from college is a twin. And she and her twin were incredible at basketball because the blind passes, I mean, and it's not just with twins, right? It's really, I think when you have these years of alignment and shared values and, you know, I bet you know things about Tyler that maybe aren't the most shiny things
of
that
course.
you like, right? And so it's really easy
spiky
to humanize people when you know what the inside of their bathroom looks like, right?
100%. I mean, I'll give you like Tyler can't pack for his life. I'm also not very good at packing, but I'm better than Tyler. And so like if we're going somewhere, I don't even bother to try and convince him. I just pack for him and there we go. He's got a bag. Let's go. And we know, so that's the other thing. We know what the other people's weaknesses are, and we also mitigate for their weaknesses very, very often. And again, we get to do this more because we work together. But even if, and so that just like multiplies it even more. And like, it's very proactive. The other day, Tyler filed taxes for something for me, and he just messaged me to say he filed my taxes. Like, oh, thank you. How great is that?
That's incredible.
And
it's a true superpower.
And
you really...
exactly, there was a point where like Tyler was very interested in figuring out this one specific fitness thing, and I just took it upon myself to solve that thing for him, and like it got solved. And it's, people talk about AI agents all the time. It's having a real agent in the real world who has full context of you. They might even have access to your bed and your mailbox and everything else. And we just share so many resources. And once we build a playbook for something, that playbook is now accessible to the entire family very easily. And it's not just the family. We have a lot of friends who are basically like family, and it translates there as well.
Yeah. What's going to happen when you and some of your siblings have families of your own? How do you see that working?
So I think we want to make it as integrated as possible. So the dream is to have a cul-de-sac. We've got 7 houses.
I love this.
And everyone's got a place. And I'm very confident that will end up happening. I would love to have kids around the same time too. And so then, we can even set up homeschool in a way that is more advantageous for us and build all these resources that are shared. And I think that just like, there's just so much trust between me and my siblings that it allows for a lot of thoughtfulness and a lot of time saving and a lot of joy. And then obviously there's a lot of challenges too, like there is in every single family, and people have disagreements and they fight and they can't, align on things. But I think that the other thing is we're very good at communicating. We never never in the history of my family do I remember someone saying something with the intent to hurt the other person. It just does not happen. Also, I can't recall a time when someone lied. There's just, deception is like just not a thing. And we over communicate with each other. And we hug, we kiss, we get mad at each other too. We're very loud. And so I'll give you like challenges in our family. I, between the ages of like 20 and 22, really struggled communicating with my dad, because like he was the only person in my life who thought he could tell me what to do. And he really triggered me. And I was doing this thing called CLG, Conscious Leadership Group. It was like a leadership development thing for CEOs. And I bought an extra ticket and I took my dad. And I was like, maybe we can solve this problem. And he did not lean into the philosophy that they were teaching, but he thought to himself, wow, if Cliff is willing to buy me a ticket to this event, to take me on a 2-day thing, like it probably is really bothering him. So let's figure out. So we figured out a system on between us how to fix it, and we fixed it, and it improved our relationship a lot. And even now, sometimes I'll get into fights with my dad, and I'll call Tyler, and he'll be the mediator now between me and my dad. And I think that it's rare in life to have relationships that are not one-on-one, but 4 people, 5 people, 6 people in relationship with each other. Typically, when you have groups of people in a relationship, it's a team. So there's a coach, or it's a company. So there's a CEO or a board. In this case, let's call my parents the CEO or the board. But now we're talking about a group of adults. And it's a group of adults where the energy levels are also different. I have a lot more energy than my parents do. And Alex has more energy than my parents do. And we're running around the world, and we're living in different cities, and we're flying. Like every week, someone's in a different country. Oh, this is another great one. So sometimes there's a moment of crisis. For example, when I was 19, someone stole my laptop, or someone steals Alex's phone, or my parents become like HQ, and my dad is just, Houston, we have a problem reporting. He'll stay up till like 3 a.m. He's like super on top of it. My dad is the most reachable person on the phone. To an annoying degree. If I'm on the phone with him and I'm talking to him about something important and Tyler calls, he will pick up from Tyler because Tyler was doing a call. But he's just so invested. He's so interested, and he'll stay up with you, and he cares so much. So that's the other thing, is my dad is definitely the backstop. Like he believes in us so much, like blind faith. And that belief in us translates to belief in ourselves. And I think all those things fit together very nicely for us. And by the way, I sound like I'm painting a very rosy picture. I want to emphasize again, there's fights, there's like any other family dynamics, but we also have nice things that work out for us well.
Sure. But you also have a system, it sounds like.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, we know that in family leadership today, we talk about a lot about rupture and repair, right? And so for us, we have a framework that we leverage from the kids' schools called Heart Repair, which is essentially kid version of nonviolent communication. But it's a great way of creating accountability and respect for one another.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that there's any fight we can't come back from inside of our family because we have a way of working through it.
Yeah. And you know that everybody has each other's best interests at heart.
At the end of the day, yeah, which is something. I love hearing like your dad is the storyteller and the vision setter, as well as like your hero, and your mom is the researcher. And it sounds like so much support was given. You know, we're about 5 months into this journey now. And to me, what I keep going back to is this three-legged stool that partially comes from like Greg Popovich, who's like a famous NBA coach, his belonging cues as well. It's this high standards, high support, and big picture perspective.
Wow.
And so I would love to hear from you a bit more about the standards that they set in your family.
Yeah.
I don't think that even the most internally driven kids in the world like had to have seen it modeled somewhere.
Yeah. No, that's very high standards.
How did they embody them? How did they make them real?
I'll give you what comes to mind first as opposed to how they embodied them.
Okay.
So my parents rarely looked at my report cards.
Yeah.
But my dad was interested to see the results in our math tests. And we wanted to show him our math tests. And the funny line that we always joke, right? It's like, you know, Indian, Asian, and Jewish families. You bring home a math exam where you scored 99 out of 100. And dad goes, why not 100? And so that is the classic Heather White's response to a math test. And I remember I was doing the PSAT, practice SAT. And I did the practice SAT like 8 times. And I would spam these tests. And even the SAT itself, I did, I think, 4 times. And all 4 times, I got a 790 out of 800, which means I missed one question. And I kept retaking the whole SAT, whole day test, just because I wanted to get the last question of the math test right. But it was always said in a way that is like kind of, it's not joking, but it's half joking and very loving. It's definitely not, oh my God, you have disappointed your family heritage by getting this right? It's just like, you know, cheeky challenge that your dad is throwing out. Like you want to hit it. Another great example is, you know, we moved to the United States and we had a American history class with his professor, Mr. Bloom. And I couldn't read the book and I couldn't touch type and I couldn't spell. And I went to the teacher and I was like, listen, Mr. Bloom, there's no way that I can read this chapter. I found an audiobook of this. Can I listen to it? And I come 15 minutes early in class and I tell you a summary. And he said, yes. And I got lucky. That was the only textbook I think I ever had that had an audiobook, but for everything else, my mom read the book or my dad read the book. And so to your point of support, like they're the backstop. They put me on their back and carried me to the end zone when I couldn't do it on my own. And then as it relates to personal growth, like I saw my dad get up, go to work, come back home late, had a team that he was leading. Yeah. And, you know, he'd wear a white shirt all the time. And I was like, oh, it means something to me as a child.
Yes.
And my mom's number one priority and my dad's number one priority was always us. There was never, you see in movies, families where the dad is going out and he's gambling or he's going to brothels, or, you know, the mom doesn't care about the kids. She's like, you know, throwing shoes at them and she's just watching TV. I don't remember my parents, except for like watching the news. I don't remember my parents sitting and watching TV. Like that just wasn't a thing. If they watched a movie, they watched a movie as a family. They'd pick a movie that they thought that we would enjoy. Often it was a movie they already saw before. They'd dance with us. You know, they'd make healthy food. We'd go on drives together as a family. There are things that I consider virtuous and things that I consider anti-virtuous. There were very few anti-virtuous things that I saw my parents do my entire childhood or even today. The closest one is going to sleep late in a way that is like, you know, unreasonable, or addiction to social media on my dad's side. My mom was pretty virtuous through and through. And I think Oh, so when I couldn't figure out the whole reading thing, my dad was like, Cliff, stop being lazy. My parents thought that I was lazy. My teachers thought I was slow. I thought I was awesome. I should find out how to prove it to people. And my dad helped me figure that out. But I really did not want to be perceived as lazy. That was like the worst insult you could throw at me. It's being lazy. And my parents were always pneumatic and engaged and, proactive. And I think that was the case for the kids in my family too. Like Tyler threw himself into computer science because it was fun to do. It was like a video game for him. I remember my dad was very anti us playing video games. Tyler still played video games. But we minimized the level of video game addiction. There was no video game addiction. There was video game enjoyment. I think that we also, had limited TV time. And my parents really encouraged us to go outside and play with other kids. So there was good guidance about what was good to do with your time. A lot of it was related to time. What's good to do with your time, what's not good to do with your time. And also how to treat each other, right? Be kind to your siblings and other people. And also you see it in the way that my parents were interacting with other people. Like they'd interact with them in a good way. And let's say we're going to go to a movie. My dad was like, all right, 8-year-old Cliff, the movie costs $8. And there's 7 people in the family. So it's good. And then we're going to buy popcorn and we're going to drive and the gas costs this. So like, okay, the cost of going to the movie is this. And I'm like, it's so expensive to go to the movies. So I never asked to go to the movies because I knew that it was very expensive, unreasonably expensive.
Yes.
To take that many kids. And I never, as a child, recall being like, all these families are going on vacation and we're not going on vacation. Because I knew how much a ticket to a plane cost and how much it cost to rent a hotel. And like we went on a couple of vacations, maybe 2 my entire childhood. But we'd get in the car, we'd drive to like a tent and we'd like camp somewhere, or we'd go to like a river, or go to the museum, or go to like the local park, because I got to understand money and valued money as a kid. And I think that to a degree that probably made me too frugal. Even today I carry that through, but it also protects the downside very much. And I think that we just saw how my parents operate, and they treated us like adults and they talked to us like we were adults. I would even get into fights with nannies because they would want us to do things that cost money. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're not going to the movies. Do you know how much the movies cost?
That's great. Love it.
So, I think that was and I remember I drove off some nannies because my youngest brother did something and they wanted to punish him and they made him sit in the corner. I was like, all right, that's like enough time to sit in the corner. And they're like, no, you have to sit in the corner. So like, no, Eric's get up. You don't need to sit in the corner. And like I get into a fight with a
Sounds
nanny.
like Hunter.
Yeah.
What is this?
Sounds like our oldest daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And like the nanny left. Like she couldn't deal with it. And she called our parents like, your children are so misbehaved. And they're like, they're not misbehaved.
Yeah.
And I think that also it was very important for our parents that we take care of each other. And so that was always the case.
That's great.
Yeah. Greg, you asked a very important question that I definitely avoided, which is talking about the pain of not having friends when you were a kid. And so you talked about the ocean, so I'll use an ocean analogy. Imagine you're going wakeboarding. There's 2 ways of wakeboarding. The first one is you smooth over the surface really easily. The second one is you're in the water's coming in your ears, like wave is hitting you in the face, it pushes you down, you're almost drowning. That's kind of like what my experience was like between the ages of 4 and 19. And you almost forget that. I don't remember anything from 2nd grade. I remember nothing from 2nd grade. I have a vivid memory of everything else, but I had a really tough time. Go ahead.
I think that's not uncommon. And so I was going to ask you, maybe this is answering my own question, but the question is, who really needs to be studying family culture and leadership? And I think it's everyone, but I think it's those of us that after like really found our groove later in life. I think back on a lot of the kids that were very popular and like stayed put in town, where I grew up, and nothing against those choices, but that was always very insular focused. Like that was always like, I need to be here. I know where I belong and it's here. And you could kind of see that. And that's why they were very grounded and also never left.
Wow.
And for people like you and I, and for you, we left.
Yeah.
We got out.
Yeah.
And getting out means like the world is your oyster. Like screw those people that, you know, that left you in the past. Like, but at the end of the day, family culture and leadership comes back around because we need to remember how important building these things are and that people did it for us or didn't do it for us. And we want it to be built
Yes.
in a different way.
Yes.
But whether we had it or we didn't,
Yes.
we need to study it.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I'm going.
So building on what you're saying, it's very funny. There's all these areas of study, right? And you ask, what is the meaning of life? So people will say different things, right? One person might say it's to be happy and joy. I like the Aristotle eudaimonia definition, right? Human thriving, Nicomachean ethics. But if you go down any of these paths, right? Human meaning, I think across all religions, all cultures, the majority of meaning often will come from the nuclear family and your relationship with your partner and your relationship with your kids. And I think that it's very difficult to find a culture that says that that's not at least 50% of the joy that you have in your life. Back to Dostoevsky. And there is no, with the exception of what you get from religion, and we can talk about that in a second, standard of what does it mean to build a good family and a happy family. Now, let me lean into the religion side for a second. It was just Yom Kippur, and it's just like the holiest day in Judaism. I would argue, and I think the data shows this, the propensity of strong, connected nuclear families in Judaism is way higher than almost any other group in the world.
Yeah, I think it's Judaism and in the Mormon community.
In the Mormon community, amazing in the Mormon community.
Yeah.
Incredible in the Mormon community. The only problem with the Mormon community is, and this is the same with Hasidic Jews,
Yeah.
both Mormonism and Hasidic Jews, it's almost too much and overbearing, and people really want to get out.
Yeah,
at a
yeah,
certain
it's
point.
polarizing.
And so, but there's a sweet spot in Mormonism and in Judaism. Great analogy.
Yeah.
I feel very, very overlapping sense with Mormonism. And if you read all the founders, right? We both love David Senra, who is very close to here actually. He often puts out, right, chips on shoulders, put chips in pockets. And the most successful entrepreneurs and happiest people often come with a dad that is very ambitious and maybe wants you to prove yourself, and a mom that thinks that you can do no wrong. And like, you know, the classic Jewish mom is the trope of this, right? We talked about Manhattan, the Manhattan Jewish mom that thinks her kid is the star and the center of the universe. It is so consistent in the extremely high performers to have a background like this. And then also Jewish families often have more kids, and the kids have very close relationships with each other. It's like, I know I remember being shocked to my core moving to America and seeing families where children like curse their parents or like talk back to their mom in a way that is impolite, or like say that they hate their mom or they hate their sibling. Oh my God. The idea that a child would tell their sibling, I hate you, was the most foreign thing in the world. Like, my dad would lose his mind if I told this to one of my siblings. This would never happen in our house. So that's definitely a cultural thing.
Sure.
And that was like enforced with like ironclad.
Sure.
And you sometimes see this in books or in movies where you have a leader that comes into a tribe and they focus on unity so strongly and making sure that people are integrated with each other well. And like, those are like the most lauded leaders. And so I think that back to your point, people don't study this very deeply. But if you did study it, you would maybe find some magical recipe for joy and happiness and human thriving to a degree that you actually can't easily find by trying to mold yourself as a single entity. And so I'll share with you a philosophy that I have, which is, you know, there's a Darwinian theory of evolution, survival of the fittest. And there's a famous study that came out of Stanford, tit for tat, where if you get hit, you hit with the equivalent force. And both are very interesting, but I think that they actually do not yield the best outcome for a evolutionary well-lived life, because we don't live life as single organisms. We live life as in groups. And so the second layer of evolution to me is evolution of nuclear families. And here's the magic part. If you face an existential risk and you are dying on the floor, someone will come in and defend you to their dying breath because you are their family, because they love you unconditionally.
Yeah.
Which means that you get a second life in the video game. Normally you would have died, but you get to continue. And so when you think about expected ROI, the expected benefit that comes from something, you go, okay, 1% probability that this startup will, be $1 billion company. And, it's 1% times 100. But if you consider the outcome of death, even if it's 0.1%, it's not a worthwhile gamble if you ask Charlie Munger. And so having a group, and the bigger that group, the better, where the trust in the group that you'll have each other's back is unlimited, allows you to have such a floor that's unbelievable, and you just get restarts over and over and over again. And the problem comes when you make that group too big, because you can't have unconditional love in a group that is too large. Definitely you can't have it more than 100. By the way, this is one of the many reasons why communism always fails. Great in theory, failure in practice. In the United States, which religion is a smaller piece and respect for parents is smaller, you see these family units that break and lose a lot of this unconditional love. And I think that that's, if motto for life and for family in general. If you ask me, what's the 2 words for, one word would be love. 2 words would be unconditional love for family culture. That's like the short of it. And so I think I was saying that there's 2 ways of surfing. 1 is the easy way. 2 is the hard way. For those who struggled with the surfing in the beginning for years, decades, and then figured it out, you then go, how do I help my kids surf easy as early as possible?
Right.
The problem is they're not going to be a developed human being if you give them everything.
Yep.
And so what you want, and there's a really great graph that shows this in video games of what does it mean to be in a state of flow. State of flow is you are facing a challenge that is just hard enough where you can deal with it, but not too hard where you're, drowning under the wave.
Yeah.
And I often think to myself, because I was very short in high school. I was like 5'2" freshman year, 5'3" sophomore year, 110 pounds. What if I was 6 foot and 160 pounds? Wow, I would have had a very different high school experience.
Yes.
But also I would be a totally different person today.
Yeah.
And I think that in the long term, I would have been a less happy person because I would not have faced that challenge. And then because I have been very lucky over the last 10 years, I think to myself, shit, am I running life on easy mode right now? And thank God I'm going to have the opportunity to be rebirthed through fatherhood and my family, because that's a whole slew of problems that are a lot more difficult. And that's why there's this desire to build up this nest egg before you have kids. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you need that challenge. And so this is an unanswered question for me that I often think about for my kids in the future, which is, do I want them to be the track star athlete, captain of the football team who wins like prom king? Or do I want them to have a more difficult experience? And I think the answer is yes, I want them to have a more difficult experience. There are non-obvious things in life. Like, for example, when to have kids, how many kids to have, where to live with your family. But if you think about it and you think about it and you think about it, and you bring in data and you bring in experience from others, you can start to converge towards paths that are more correct than others. And you guys are investing in this exploration. And this is indeed a very worthwhile field to study because it yields the most joy and happiness and satisfaction and meaning in life of any field.
I would love to hear, do you have a favorite family holiday tradition or just tradition in general that you could share with us?
Yes.
I knew
We
he
have
would.
No, yeah, but it's totally not what you're expecting.
Okay.
We have a song.
Okay.
The song goes.
I love it. Let's
The
hear it.
song goes, hello, my name is Joe. I like to eat the peanut butter. When I eat the peanut butter, my life is amazing. My life is amazing. We have a dance that goes along with the song. The dance. We go like this with our hands and we high five each other. And so whenever there's a big life event that we have, especially me, my brother, and my sister, we'll sing our song and we'll do the high fives. And sometimes we won't be next to each other. So we'll just call each other out of the blue. We know that this big thing occurred and we won't say anything else. We'll just start singing the song. We'll sing the song together, and that's the call.
That's incredible. I love it.
The "Hello, my name is Joe" celebration
That's
is my
so
favorite.
good. I love that.
Classic.
That's
That's so good.
Very classic.
That is so good.
That's
I love
so
it.
good. I couldn't have asked for a better
Perfect
know.
ending.
closing here.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Cliff.
Amazing.
This has been
Thanks for
awesome.
having me
Thank
on,
you
guys.
so,
Thank you.
so
This has
much.
been
Yes.
awesome. All right.
Awesome.
Hey guys, if you're still here, you're definitely our kind of person. Thanks for spending this time with us on the most important thing. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love for you to follow us wherever you get your podcasts and share it with someone else building family culture on purpose.